I love personalizing things because I'm the main character and I'm gonna act like it. My water bottle is covered in stickers, my iPad is covered in stickers, my car is covered in stickers, even my body's covered in stickers. In school, you could always hear me coming because my backpack was covered in keychains and buttons. I have always highly valued my individuality, and this extends to my online life as well. I was that person who couldn't have their username just be their name. That was too boring. I had to have a different, unique username for every social media account. Yes, I did have a prominent, not like the other girls phase, why do you ask? However, opportunities for personal expression online seem to be few and far between these days. Today's digital landscape looks very different from the seizure-inducing websites and profile pages of the early internet. So what exactly happened? How did we get here? Let's start at the beginning. GeoCities was a free web hosting platform founded in 1994. It allowed users to create their own websites and browse other people's websites completely for free. Websites were organized into neighborhoods based on their topic, such as Hollywood for movies and entertainment, or Tokyo for anime and manga. Users could totally customize their web pages from the ground up, changing the colors and fonts, adding graphics and MIDI songs, having a guestbook or a chat room, and much more. You didn't need to have extensive coding or web design knowledge to build a site, which is evident when looking at some of these pages. Very much giving graphic design is my passion. Anyone and everyone could carve out their own personal little corner of the internet. GeoCities hosted everything from personal web pages made for fun by teenagers to memorial websites, fan sites, small businesses, and school clubs. And while they all had that distinctive Web 1.0 look, the contents and designs varied wildly from one website to another. Other web hosting platforms popped up in the late 90s as well, such as AngelFire and Tripod, but none were as popular as GeoCities. Yahoo bought GeoCities in 1999, at which time it was the third most visited site on the web. Unfortunately, it wasn't exactly a profitable venture for Yahoo. GeoCities also had premium web hosting services for a fee, but not enough people were using it, so Yahoo chose to close the site down in 2009, at which point it had more than 38 million pages, although for some reason it remained active only in Japan until 2019. Luckily, it has been archived by several groups, including our besties over at the Internet Archive, where it can be accessed by the Wayback Machine. At the time the shutdown was announced, the Internet Archive stated that they wanted to make sure GeoCities was preserved, because it had been an important outlet for personal expression on the web for almost 15 years. My favorite way to browse the archive is through GIFcities, a project by the Internet Archive that allows you to search their collection of those blinking clip art-esque GIFs that were so popular on GeoCities sites. If you click on a GIF, it will take you to the archive snapshot of the site it came from. People used to cram so much stuff on their pages that it's sometimes a bit slow to load on 2024 high-speed fiber optic internet. I don't know how anyone was loading these pages on dial-up. If, like me, you were a small child in the late 90s and early 2000s and never had a chance to make your own GeoCities page, fear not. A modern-day spiritual successor called NeoCities was launched in 2013, and aims to provide an experience as close to the original as possible. Although I will say most NeoCities users seem to have slightly better design sensibilities than their counterparts from 20 years ago. I did get jump scared by a few auto-playing MIDI songs, however, so I'm glad to see they're keeping that spirit alive. Developer of NeoCities, Kyle Drake, lamented that modern sites like Facebook control the type, shape, and arrangement of the content you contribute, and deviation is not possible. He made NeoCities because he wanted there to be an alternative to these kinds of platforms and allow people to have a web presence that they can truly make their own. MySpace, launched in 2003, was the first really big social media website. It allowed users to create profile pages where they could upload photos, write blog posts, list their interests, and add people as friends. It became especially popular among independent musicians, giving them a platform where they could share their music. Many now famous musicians, such as Lana Del Rey and Katy Perry, got their start on MySpace. It also attracted members of music-based subcultures like emo, scene, or goth, most of whom were teenagers or young adults. Users' profile pages were highly customizable, letting them add colorful backgrounds, wallpapers, glittery graphics, and songs that autoplayed at full volume. Very reminiscent of GeoCities, but now with a mid-2000s coat of paint. The funny thing is though, MySpace profiles actually weren't intended by the developers to be this customizable. There was a mistake during programming that allowed end users to add HTML into forms that would change the look of their profile. By the time MySpace staff noticed this error, they decided to keep it since users seemed to like it. And this customizability, if that's even a word, ended up becoming one of the site's defining features. MySpace peaked in popularity between 2005 and 2008 and began to slowly decline around the turn of the decade. While the site is still up to this day, it is largely defunct. You can't sign up for a new account or anything, and if you had an account back in the day, chances are it's gone, because all user content from launch until 2015 was lost in a botched server migration in 2019. Great work, guys. Interestingly, MySpace's customizability may have contributed to its downfall. The same shoddy coding that had accidentally allowed for profile customization also allowed hackers to easily gain access to the site and fuck shit up. MySpace began to gain a bit of a reputation for being unsafe. Around this time, another social networking site was coming up that was thought of as being safer: Facebook. Oh, the irony. Unlike MySpace, Facebook had virtually no customization options. You could upload a profile picture and eventually a header photo, but other than that, everyone's profiles had the exact same look and layout. Facebook's main feature became its news feed, where you could see your friends' posts without having to visit their profile. The emphasis here was less on individuality and personal expression and more on the social part of social network, which is lame as hell in my opinion, but however. This safe, standardized approach appealed more to advertisers, and apparently to users as well, because they began leaving MySpace in droves. I think for most people my age who were entering their teenage years in the late 2000s and early 2010s, Facebook was their first social media, and they didn't even bother with MySpace. I did have a MySpace account, but the heyday had long since passed by the time I made it, and I don't think I hardly ever used it. Another site that became synonymous with MySpace was Blingy, an animated GIF creation site that launched in 2006 to allow people to add personalized imagery to their MySpace pages. You could create layered images by uploading a photo and decorating it with stamps that were created by other users. It even became a bit of a community unto itself, with the addition of forums and Blingy making competitions. As you would expect, the site declined in popularity along with a decline in MySpace, and the Blingy aesthetic came to be seen as cringy and tacky, only used for ironic memes. They announced they would be shutting down in 2015, but walked this back after fan outcry. There was some concern that the site would stop working after the death of Flash in 2020, but they found a way to persist. As of a few days ago at the time of researching, the site became defunct, with a message saying that the Blingy team are working on transforming Blingy into something new that preserves the passion and creativity of this amazing community. Who knows what that means, but I guess we'll see. If you're interested in a deep dive on Blingy specifically, Izzy's and Strange Eons have both made videos on it recently. Another site called PicMix is still up and running and is basically the same thing as Blingy. As for MySpace, a revival called Space Hey was launched in 2020 by German software developer Anton Rome, with the goal of resurrecting all the things you missed most about social networks. Rome was only 19 when Space Hey launched, meaning he was too young to have used MySpace, but felt inspired to create a revival after he came to the conclusion that you can't find something like this nowadays, where everyone can be this creative. As of June 2024, it has over 1 million users, and many of these users are definitely keeping the spirit of the original MySpace profiles alive. A lot of them seem to be teenagers as well. Children yearn for 2009. Facebook ended up setting a precedent that later social media like Twitter and Instagram followed. So going into the 2010s, customization online was scarcer than ever. There was one platform that kept it alive a little longer, however. If it wasn't already obvious, I was on Tumblr a lot during my formative years, and I would say it's foundational to the person I am today. Tumblr is a microblogging platform created in 2007, but it didn't really start taking off until 2010 or 2011, and was hugely popular from about 2012 to 2015. It became a haven for various communities, including fandoms, artists, writers, fashion enthusiasts, and LGBTQ folks. However, towards the mid-2010s, it gained a bit of a reputation for being filled with fandom drama, social justice warriors, and just some very strange people, and was often mocked by the rest of the internet. Even though most of the posts that went viral on places like r/Tumblr in Action were very obvious satire and troll posts, Bone Ghazi was unfortunately real though. One thing Tumblr was great for was allowing users to heavily customize their blogs. You could either choose one of the pre-made templates, called themes, that were available, or you could use the built-in HTML editor to edit your theme from scratch. Theme customization became a big part of Tumblr culture. People created theme blogs dedicated to sharing the different layouts they had created. Those of us who were not proficient in HTML could simply copy and paste the codes onto our own blogs. And even the templates themselves were often very customizable, with options to do everything from change the colors to add custom cursors and favicons. For many people, this was how they learned HTML. Raise your hand if you used to spend entire afternoons editing your theme. I don't have it anymore, sadly, but I remember I used to have this one crazy theme that had like an animated background and glitter falling and a whole bunch of GIFs on it. And I had like a separate page where I listed all my favorite ships using little pixel art sprites of the characters. Then there was my first blog, which is, no comment. Tumblr started to decline in popularity in the latter half of the 2010s. It was purchased by Yahoo, yes, the same Yahoo that killed GeoCities in 2013, which did have some people nervous. We made fun of them at the time, but we should have listened. It was sold again in 2019 to Automatic, the company that owns another blogging platform, WordPress, for reportedly less than $3 million. So far, they're doing a terrible fucking job at running it. Some cite the infamous failed Tumblr convention DashCon in 2014 as the beginning of the end, but the real, not final nail in the coffin, because Tumblr is still up and running, but I guess second to last nail in the coffin was when they banned all adult content at the end of 2018, causing a mass exodus of users from the site. Real Tumblrinas stuck around post-porn ban. Although I will say the general vibe on the site now is that we're all just kind of sitting around waiting for that final killing blow. You can still edit your blog theme, but customization seems to have been de-emphasized in recent years. I almost never see those theme blogs or posts sharing themes anymore. When you click on someone's profile, it takes you to a version of their blog with this more typical social media profile layout, where all you can customize are 2 colors, profile and header images, and the font of your blog title. This is also how blogs look on mobile. Then, if you want to see the full version of their blog with the custom theme, if they have one, you have to click on their name.tumblr.com URL. When I made a new Tumblr account in 2023, it took me a hot minute to even figure out how to edit my theme. And for a while I thought they'd removed the feature for new accounts or something. But now it's sort of presented as a bonus feature you can opt into if you want, rather than a core part of the user experience. It wouldn't surprise me if someone totally new to Tumblr in the past few years, if such a person exists, wasn't even aware of custom themes. It seems like in an effort to stay relevant, they've tried to become more like other social media sites, but I don't know that it's doing them any favors. Lastly, I want to talk about a few smaller examples of lost customization in recent years. One of these is on this website right here, wherever the logo is. YouTube, I'm talking about YouTube. Although I've only been making videos for a little over a year, I've been on YouTube since 2010. Fellow YouTube old heads might remember when channel pages were a lot more customizable than they are currently. Similar to MySpace profiles, you could choose the colors, add a background photo, and customize the text graphics and layout. There was also just a lot more information displayed on your channel page as well, such as total channel views and watch time, last login date, country, friends, subscribers, favorites, and channel comments. I believe most of these customization options were lost around the time YouTube merged with Google+ in 2013, and a more bare-bones layout, very similar to the current one, was introduced. Smosh's channel page is a particularly good case study for this evolution since they were on YouTube since the beginning and are still around today. In addition to lost customization in online spaces, I feel like we're seeing a move away from personalization in other spheres as well. For example, one feature people loved about the Nintendo 3DS was that it allowed you to purchase and download custom themes from the eShop for the home menu of your system. These themes included custom background music, background images, icons, and sound effects, and were usually themed around Nintendo franchises like Pokemon, The Legend of Zelda, Fire Emblem, Metroid, and Mario. There's a very popular 3DS homebrew community that allows for people, among other things, to download custom themes from the internet. Nintendo fans were hopeful that the theme feature would be carried over to the Switch, but were disappointed when they found that they could only toggle between two lame-ass default themes. It'd be great if they brought back themes on the next console, but it's Nintendo, and I think doing the opposite of what their fans want must be part of their corporate motto or something, so I'm not overly optimistic. There seem to be a lot fewer design and color options for the physical pieces of tech we buy as well. Like, look at all these different colors the PS2 came in. There was even a transparent one, remember transparent tech? As opposed to the PS5, which as far as I'm aware, just comes in this one color. My first laptop in 2011 was this pink Sony Vaio. But after the rise of the MacBook, every PC laptop company was like, we have to copy them, so laptops started to come in either gray or slightly different shade of gray. Overall, with design and aesthetics, there seems to have been a shift sometime in the 2010s towards sleekness and minimalism. Think of the shift from the Frutiger Arrow aesthetic that everyone is currently obsessed with to the more modern corporate Memphis aesthetic, or the rise of the sad beige mom aesthetic on TikTok. However, as with all trends, I think we might be starting to see things swing in the opposite direction. I've seen a lot more fashion influencers embracing maximalism lately, and it looks like companies like Apple are starting to reintroduce greater color options for their products. We're definitely in an era where people are starting to get fed up with the big social media sites, so I'm thinking we should all migrate to GeoCities and Space Hay and forums where we can all have our own custom signatures. That probably won't happen, but a girl can dream. So why do I think there was this widespread abandonment of personalization and customization options on the web? Well, I think part of it definitely has to do with the trend cycle of aesthetics. Time passed, tastes changed, and people looked back at their old GeoCities or MySpace pages and cringed at what they saw was tackiness. But a larger part of it, in my opinion, is the loss of the democracy of the web. The early web was a little bit anarchic and chaotic, but people were free to express themselves in whichever way they chose. Now the internet has been taken over and homogenized by these massive corporations like Meta, and everything has to be sanitized and watered down in order to be advertiser friendly. Let me say YouTube. I can't even scroll through my own blog on the Tumblr app without seeing ads. As I said before, people are getting sick of this, and the old web revivals like GeoCities and Space Hay are proudly ad-free. To be clear, I'm not saying the old web was perfect, it was maybe a little under-moderated at times. Let me know if you want to see me make a video about old shock sites. But I think we've swung a little too far in the opposite direction. I love the dated and at times garish looks of old GeoCities and MySpace pages. I'm sure a lot of people don't really care about the decline of customization, but I think having the opportunity to be creative and let your freak flag fly is incredibly important. Make the internet weird again. Have you ever used GeoCities, MySpace, or pre-2018 Tumblr? If so, what do you miss most about customization? Do you have a GeoCities or Space Hay page? I would love to hear your thoughts. As always, thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed the video, liking and subscribing would be very much appreciated. Now if you'll excuse me, I'm gonna go learn HTML so I can make the ugliest GeoCities webpage known to man. I'll catch y'all in the next one.